control hub. It looks like any other thermostat. It tells us the humidity inside, the temperature outside, what we want the temperature to be, and of course where it is now. There's all sorts of great features to this thing. You can set it temporarily. You can tell you all the information for current temperatures, your humidity there, energy data, how much energy it's used over the past hour, day, and then month, and then over its whole history. All sorts of fantastic features. Definitely a smart machine. Takes a bit of getting used to, shall we say, and that controls the heating and the hot water. So as we go into the cupboard under the stairs, moving Mr. Potter out of the way, we find the solar iBoost system, which is taking that. Gosh, even today it's quite dreary, isn't it? But even so, just because I guess of the where the sun is right now, through those clouds, we're actually getting heating. You find a brand new bank of course, fuses. It's all been wired, and then up here is the meter that records how much electricity has been generated over the lifespan of the solar panels. And they put in these smart meters, smart radiators, sorry. So about the same size and footprint of a normal radiator, except the difference is they have a coil, braided coil that goes through, and the heating fluid is pushed through that, but rather than just sort of radiating slowly, down the bottom here, behind this vent, there's a little fan. They'll push air, suck in air here and push it up through here. So these louvers open according to the temperature demands that you've got in the system here. So it's effectively, you set the main temperature on that gizmo that I showed you at the beginning, and then you can actually modulate these separately. So right now I've got this set to 17 degrees. One of the things that we've discovered with going all electric is, well, think of it this way. You know, when you're riding your bike, if you're going through the mountains, you come down really fast and you're just coasting. It's easy peasy, costing no energy at all. But then going up the other side, you use an awful lot of energy. So if we were to do that with the electrical system, it would be cost prohibitive, I think. So what we do is we sort of take over as though we're on little flatlands or foothills, as it were. So that we just keep so we go down to a low of 16.5 degrees and a high of 18 degrees maximum, and that's it.
Well, we've known for some time that the Rectory was energy inefficient, and we've been talking about putting some insulation in, at least in the loft, but it would have been extremely disruptive to have done anything much more. And also, we knew that any extensive works would take quite a long time.
Yeah.
Therefore, when Richard gave us notice of his retirement, that was the signal to be considering what needed to be done to the Rectory. It was quite clear that the heating arrangements were pretty antediluvian. The Rectory was powered by an oil-fired Rayburn, which did the central heating and the cooking, but not both at the same time.
Sure. Okay.
So clearly that needed to go.
Yeah.
And as a minimum, which was the first iteration of the Rectory renovations, that as a minimum we needed to replace that with a modern oil-fired boiler.
Right.
And because the regulations had changed, the oil tank wasn't bunded, and therefore that would need to be changed. So that was the first thing. And then, of course, the Synod's decision that all church properties should be carbon neutral by 2030, that really drove us in the direction of looking for a zero carbon solution. We were also extremely lucky that one of our parishioners ran a fundraising campaign, and within 10 days of intensive telephoning raised £69,000, which with gift aid gave us a pot of 81,000. So we had, in effect, a fighting fund of 125,000. Well, I would say the first thing is it's more a sigh of relief. The project was completed more or less within budget, more or less within time, although we had a problem with the joiners overran, and that meant that the decorators did a runner. And poor John had to go and stay with relatives for a month, and even then the paint was only just dry when you moved in.
I think so. I think that morning you probably finished. And that was most of that was Christopher and his wife Elizabeth. So thanks
Elizabeth
to you.
did a lot of it.
Yeah.
I think the fact that actually it works,
Yeah.
because you can do your calculations, and I spent the first 3 months of the project doing very little other than gaining estimates and doing calculations and working my way through the options to come to what I felt was the best option. But there are rules of thumb for calculating how much heat, and of course you can just work out what the surface area of the building is and calculate it from that. I would suggest that you plan early, and in fact what I would suggest is obviously we had the advantage that we had a vacancy, so the building was empty. You may not be anticipating that for a while, but nonetheless I would suggest that you need to get onto it straight away in raising money, because there are lots and lots of charities which will give you money, little or lots, for doing work on a church. I couldn't find one that supported work on the rectory, and to my mind having a decent rectory where you can look after your rector is almost as important, if not more important, than the fabric of the church. Mm. And the second thing I would say is it takes a lot of time to do your calculations and get your estimates. I had a 6-month window to complete this job, actually rather less, but it took 6 months. The first 3 months were entirely taken up with planning and getting estimates before I could give the green light to my chosen contractors. If you think that you have got to do something within the next 8 years, start working on it now.
We'll go see the heat pump outside, but this is the internal hub of all that is. So it's a massive. How many liters, Christopher? Do you remember? Is it 100?
350.
350 liters. Amazing. With a control unit that'll tell you how much power is being used right now, and so that does both the hot water as well as the heat in the house.
I think the rule of thumb, if I recall, is you need 50 litres per head.
Yeah.
Occupants.
Yeah, so as Christopher was talking about, that's the German manufacturer,
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
Yes.
And so we actually are running it. I asked it to heat up a little bit, so you can hear hardly a whisper. So 2 big fans. That is the air source heat pump, which does everything we need. All singing, all dancing. Can you hear that noise? That noise is the fan on the solar iBoost. So what's happening right now is that the 14 solar panels on the roof are providing electricity to top up the warmth of the hot water just now. So currently only 0.21 kilowatts are coming through. So not very much, but enough. Enough to provide some free heat from the sun.